Hi, hello. This is a payday routine where I'm budgeting a higher than usual paycheck and getting March fully funded, but I'm also working through a bigger question. This month, I booked an international trip and ended up more than $10,000 overspent on travel. So now I need to decide whether that was actually affordable or if it's gonna break the rest of the year's budget. We'll start with income, move through fixed costs, guilt-free spending and savings, and then I'll show you exactly how I cover the overspending and sanity check whether that kind of spending actually fits into our budget. As always, we'll start with the income that I'm going to budget. This payday, we have three income sources. First is contributions from my partner to our joint account in the amount of $4,217. Then there's my paycheck for $4,206.42. And I also had a stock vest that resulted in $9,856.88 of take-home pay. I'm going to ignore my partner's contributions and stock vest for now. Those are going to serve a very specific purpose later on in the video. But for now, I'm just going to take what I earned in my paycheck and go ahead and start budgeting out into March. We have 5 overspent categories in February, but those can wait. First, I want to make sure that we're covered for our March plan. So I'm going to flip over to March, and I always like to start with fixed costs. These are the costs that you know you're going to have to pay for every single month. We started funding them in the last video. I'm going to finish funding them, but I'm going to make some adjustments along the way. So the home category group is pretty much funded. The only thing outstanding right now is cleaning service. I see that I'm scheduled for 3 cleanings in March just based on the days of the week and where they fall in the month. But we're actually going to be out of town for 2 weeks next month. So I'm going to actually slash this in half because I think we're only going to have 1 cleaning. Because my target is $300, this will still be yellow because it's expecting at least 150 more. We're going to ignore that for now. Next, in household goods, I signed $800. This was the amount that we averaged in our spending in 2025, but we're only going to be here for 2 weeks out of the month. Additionally, in the month of February, we're almost to the end of the month. In a full month, we've only spent $600. I'm comfortable floating this down to $500 for the month of March just to give us any wiggle room, but I don't anticipate that we'll even spend that much since we won't be here. This means that we also need some adjustments to food and drink. So in meal kit, the target is $300 each week. We will only be here for 2 weeks, so we only need $600 for the month of March. We funded groceries and meals at work last time. These have been higher on average, so my target is $300 for groceries. We've averaged a lot higher than that so far to start the year, so $468. That should come down as the year progresses. And then meals at work, that has been an average of $415. That should also reduce in the coming months. So I'm going to leave these as fully funded for now. That should be good for the 2 weeks that we'll be here. In planes, trains, and automobiles, we funded most of these categories, everything except my car payment. That will still come out, and that is $600 for the month, and we are good in this whole category group. Personal care, we funded last time. Now, in active services, there's been a couple of changes. So this is our active subscriptions category group. And since we last chatted, there are a couple of expenses that are no longer appearing here anymore. So let me just go to my all view really quickly so I can show you what I'm talking about. Whenever we pause a subscription, I put it down here in pause services so I don't have to think about it. But the first is Peloton. We haven't really been using that, so I went ahead and paused that subscription. Normally that's $50 a month. And then Apple Music, now for some reason as a part of our cell phone plan, I'm on my parents' family plan. Shout out to you, mom and dad. But Apple Music for the family is included, so I don't have to pay for my individual subscription anymore. Those have been moved from active services down into pause services, and so that change will be reflected throughout the rest of the year. Let me just open these back up. All right. I do still need to fund my phone for $60. Netflix already got funded last time. Premium connectivity is $11 a month. For Prime Video channels, I'm going to budget $45 a month. Channy is my astrology app, which gets $14. Apple Cloud Storage gets $10. Walmart Plus will not get anything because it's fully reimbursed by my credit card. But New York Times All Access will actually get $6 now because they increased the price. Now it's 30 something dollars a month. My credit card, which previously covered the full amount here, now is short about $5. Actually, let's see. Short about 5 is short 530. So gonna set aside $6 there. So the total for active services will be $173 next month. Annual fees is the next thing in my fixed costs list, and these are things that we pay once a month. So the first is my Chase Sapphire card. We paid the annual fee in February, so now it's time to start saving up for February 2027. So I set aside $8 there. YNAB gets $10. Amex Blue Cash we funded last time. Amazon Prime will get $13 a month for that annual subscription. Costco gets $5 a month. Microsoft 365 will get $12. Samsung TV Art gets $4. Amex Platinum gets $123. Amex Gold gets $30. Aura Ring will get $7, and Headspace will get $6. Uber One I'll skip because that is fully covered by my credit card. All right, lastly, we have debt payments. So I owe some money for my 2024 income taxes, and I need to pay the IRS $300 a month. These pause services are ones that tend to go in and out of the budget. So I'm going to leave them here for now, but not going to fund them since, as I mentioned, we put them on pause. All right, so we are done with fixed costs for March. Flipping over to guilt-free spending, we will start adding some funds here. First, we have takeout and delivery. My target is $1,000 a month, but because we're going to be gone for 2 weeks, I'll just make that $600. Coffee, we do need to restock our pods, and the target there is $75, so I'll fully fund that. I need $36 for my gym membership, so I'll fund that. Hobbies gets $36 a month, and that will be fully funded for March. So short and sweet, we're all done with guilt-free. Saving is the next view of categories that I like to take a peek at every month. The first thing that I set aside money for every single month is out-of-pocket costs for healthcare. So that can be for, medical, dental, vision. If I need to reorder medical supplies like contact lenses, I have a dental cleaning coming up. I do therapy. So all of that definitely adds up. And I have a high deductible health plan, but I invest all the funds that are contributed there. So I try to cover my medical costs out of pocket. And I like to set aside $250 every single month for that. Travel fund, we will skip for now. That's definitely not something I fund every month, but sometimes I do fund it if I don't have anything booked and I want to set that money aside. Giving has 3 categories. The first is festivities for $125. I have a target here to set aside $1,500 for the holidays next year. And so I'm on track there with another $125 contribution. Gifts for others non-holiday gets $100. Mutual aid will get $10. And then our flex fund is looking pretty bare right now. What I'm going to do, rather than sticking that into the March flex fund, I'm going to go back to February and stick this $1,570.42 into the flex fund there. And the flex fund is just a place to park money that is used above and beyond what we can anticipate for the fixed costs or guilt-free spending or savings that I've already budgeted for and allocated. Now in February, we do need to cover the overspending that we have going on. The first category is household goods. I didn't assign the full $800 this month because I wanted to see if we could stick to a little bit less. And so far we're coming up on the end of the month and we're still under $700. So I'm just going to cover this $95.52 from Flex Fund. And then we have some overspending on groceries, takeout and delivery, and dining as well. So groceries, we spent $337. I like to usually keep that around $300, but I assigned a little bit less than that this month. Takeout and delivery, I signed $900, and we're just over $1,000, so I need to cover that. And then dining, we did end up dining out twice this month. We're trying to be more intentional with that, and we were $37 over. So I'm going to cover all of this with Flex Fund. Okay, and then the big one, we are overspent by $10,060.20. This month I booked an international trip for the spring. I am definitely gonna have to cover that. If you hung with me in 2025, you know that I spent over $50,000 on travel last year, and that definitely strained the budget. This year, I'm definitely looking to rein that number in. And when I initially started planning, I was thinking something like $12,000. So, how do I know what I can afford to spend on vacation? I have my budget here and I have my conscious spending plan over here. The conscious spending plan is good for giving me some guidelines for things like fixed costs, guilt free spending, and savings goals. And so if I take a look at my travel, I have spent $10,060.20. That's going to go up with some outstanding charges that haven't quite come through yet. So I want to show you how I determined that I'm comfortable spending this amount and may end up increasing my travel spending a little more. The first thing we're going to do, though, actually is update the income on my CSP. My partner ended up getting a raise and is anticipating another raise, and we contribute proportionally to our joint expenses. So that's our normal fixed costs and guilt free spending, and also any vacations or things like that. And so just annualizing the vacation spend so far this year plus their raise, this should probably be bumped up to $2,600 a month for their income. Where we left off, my fixed costs were at 62% of our spending, which is a little bit higher than the guidance. And that was specifically because my debt payments, I wanted to contribute more to than is currently required. I'm comfortable with that. But I want to just make some tweaks to update this given our spending so far this year and then plug in numbers for vacation spending. So, rent, storage, garage, all this stuff will remain the same. Cleaning service the same. Household goods isn't really $500. We're closer to $700 so far. Meal kit, we are at about $1,200 a month for a 4-week month. Everything else I will keep the same for now, but that bumps our fixed costs up to 69% versus that 65. Just want to reflect reality here rather than trying to aim for perfection. Not gonna touch my investments. I aimed for 3%. It's about $500 a month to be invested in 2026, and I'm still gonna stick with that. But then when it comes to savings goals, I was at 16%, a little bit above this recommended 5 to 10%. And I'd had travel as a part of savings goals because occasionally we do set aside money in a travel fund, but just reflecting more on how we really do spend on travel, I think it makes more sense to move this to guilt-free spending. So I'm going to do that. After removing travel from savings goals, now our savings goals are down to about 11% for the year. That includes the out-of-pocket costs and festivities and gifts for others that we already funded in this video, as well as mutual aid. And then I have a goal of adding an additional $18,000 to my 3-month expense funds. That's where this $1,500 a month comes from. So now our savings goals are closer to the recommended guidance there. And then if I scroll all the way down to guilt-free spending, right now I have the categories that we talked through in the budget here. So for food and drink, lifestyle, and me, I have takeout and delivery, coffee, Pilates and fitness, which is now just fitness. So let's make that change here too to reflect. And hobbies, all of that is covered. I want to go ahead and add travel in here now. All right, we've got travel in there. So, as we saw in the budget, when it comes to the travel category, we've spent $10,000 so far. I anticipate that going up, but let's just imagine that I spent $20,000 for the whole year on vacations. So, if we take $20,000, divide it by 12, that would be $1,600 a month, and that puts us at 17% for guilt-free spending. The subtotal for these categories within guilt-free spending is $2,555, which gives us $620 left over in guilt-free spending for whatever we want. Now, let's say that maybe I wanted to spend $30,000 on vacation for the year. If I take $30,000 and divide it by 12, that's $2,500 a month. Let's see if we can do that. So that puts us at negative 280. I'm thinking about $30,000 for the year just because We like to travel, it's something that we really value, and also our families live pretty far from us, so it is actually pretty expensive even within the continental US to get around to visit folks. So I basically need to claw back $300 if I want to maintain that travel budget. So let's see what I can do. Okay, so as I'm looking through my fixed costs, there isn't really anything that I want to change here. Let's just say I reduce this to $2,200 a month. That then leaves us $20 left over, cutting it pretty close, but it still affords us a pretty good travel budget. And then let's see what 2,200 times 12 is. That's $26,400. So if we're able to stick within that, then our guilt-free spending is looking closer to what it should be here. Our savings goals are much more aligned. Investments are a little low, and then fixed costs are a little high, but that's okay. We can really lock in our spending around household goods and meal kit and groceries as well as meals at work. I think these are the areas that we have the most opportunity to really reduce in order to give us some more guilt-free spending all around. Don't forget the rest of the money that we have to budget. So into budget, we have $4,217 from my partner. Going to move that to ready to assign. And I have $9,856.88. Gonna also move that to ready to assign. And all of this actually is for our upcoming trip. All of this will be spent. All the charges have not come through yet on my card, but they will very shortly. So I'm gonna assign this remaining $14,073.88 to our upcoming trip. So that's that. We have assigned all the money, given every single dollar a job, and now I'm ready to move into the month of March, with March fully taken care of for both our needs and also our vacation spending. Thank you so much for watching if you stuck with me this long, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.